What is going on, fam? Welcome back to Adobe Moto. Today we're going to compare the ZX4-RR to the ZX6-R 636. As you may or may not know, the ZX4-RR is coming to the US. There's an SE model and a base model, but it's not confirmed for the US yet. I decided to make this video because some of you might be thinking about picking up the ZX4-RR in the US. There's a lot to unpack here, so let's just get started. Now, I'm not exactly sure if this is the right first bike for you. A lot of people will tell you to get something a little bit more beginner friendly, like maybe the Ninja 400 or the Yamaha R3. But if it was a younger me, the ZX4-RR might be a great first bike for me to consider. If you want my opinion, I wouldn't let anybody tell you which first bike to get, but that's just me. Okay, just reading right off the website, we're gonna start with the technology. We have auto blip and quick shifter with a slipper clutch. You got the KTRC, which is Kawasaki's version of traction control. You got ABS, 6-speed 4-stroke inline 4. You got dual disc brakes up front, just like a regular Super Sport. And of course you got the goodies like the 4.3-inch full TFT display. The ZX4-RR can connect to your phone wirelessly, Bluetooth. I honestly don't know what the use of that is. My RSV4 can do that as well, but I never use the app. I'm gonna stop there and go into the 636 now, because there's a few things that I want to compare the ZX6-4R with the 636. Okay, with the 636 we have the slipper clutch and a quick shifter, no auto blip. You also have the KTRC, which again is Kawasaki's version of traction control, and of course there's an ABS version of this bike. But for the sake of this comparison, let's do the base and say it doesn't come with ABS. Okay, displacement is a true 636cc with a 6-speed transmission. Now there is a difference in throttle body technology. The 636 uses dual throttle valves, and the ZX4-RR uses the traditional electronic single throttle valve. Obviously, two very different power plants. This is where we're going to start to see a lot of differences between the two. The ZX4-RR and the ZX6-R both use inverted forks. The ZX6-R uses a 41mm inverted Showa SFF-BP fork, and you can adjust compression, rebound, and preload. And the ZX4-R uses the 37mm same fork style, but with only a preload adjuster. So right away with the 636, you get way more adjustability in your forks than you do on the ZX4-R. On the ZX4-R though, I heard you get the ZX10R rear shock. Both shocks on the ZX6-R and the ZX4-R are fully adjustable, and also both shocks are gas charged. So the rear shocks, I would say they're pretty equivalent. Obviously the smaller bike's gonna have a softer spring. The front tire dimensions are the same. You're gonna use a 120/70 tire, but the rear tire on the ZX4-R is a lot smaller. It says it's a 160/60/17, and the ZX6-R can do a 180/55/17. You might be able to get away with a bigger slick on the ZX4-R, but since that bike doesn't have Super Sport power, I think this rear tire might be enough. The brakes, same thing, bigger on the 636, smaller on the ZX4-R. Okay, I'm gonna start with the weight. The ZX4-R says it comes in at about 415 pounds, and I'm gonna guess that that's a wet weight. And the ZX6-R is about 430 pounds, which is only 15 pounds more. And again, I'm gonna guess that they're both wet weight. It's important to note that the 636 actually has a 4.5-gallon tank versus the ZX4, which has a 4-gallon tank. And it's also important to know that the ZX4-R uses a steel trellis frame. And I think this is where a lot of the weight is coming from for such a small motorcycle. The ZX6-R obviously uses aluminum. ZX4-R is like 2 inches wider than the ZX636, 30.1 inches on the ZX4, 28 inches on the 636. Wheelbase, ground clearance, overall height, even the rake and trail, very similar. The price difference between the ZX4-RR and the 636 base is exactly $1,000. Right off the bat, you already know for $1,000 more, you're getting more for your money. Now bear with me, because I know a lot of the track and the race enthusiasts are gonna be like, well, this bike was made for the track. Slow bike is a lot more fun to ride than a fast bike. Slow. There's all these arguments for this motorcycle in the US that tell you who this bike is made for. But the truth is, not everybody's a racer, or not everybody's a track geek. Not everybody is into the track lifestyle. And to be honest, here's what I see happening to a bike like the ZX4-R. Somebody like me who's pretty excited about it for a track use type of bike, likely gonna upgrade the forks. I can see somebody going and picking up some use 636 forks. I can also see somebody swapping out the OEM clip-ons for lower clip-ons on the ZX4. Another thing that I could see is somebody getting an exhaust, doing a flash tune, and trying to squeeze the most power out of the ZX4-R, which in a sense kind of defeats the purpose of a slow bike fast, right? I think at the bare minimum I would want to do some kind of like fork cartridge internal upgrade, and I'd try to lose as much weight as possible. 415 is kind of heavy for a bike like this. I think stopping power is going to be fine, but again, the 636 only weighs 15 pounds more and the front brakes are a lot beefier. So there's a possibility I would just go with the 636 brake system, especially if I'm going to be trying to squeeze the most power out of the ZX4-R. I'm going to need to stop. I do love that this bike has auto blip and the 636 doesn't, but that's something so simple to add to the 636 that it's almost like a negligible argument. Now, the true argument is the other countries who are very excited about the 400. If I lived in Asia or somewhere where I'm restricted on what size motorcycle I could buy, of course I'm going to be excited about the ZX4-RR. It would be the bike for somebody like me, right? But what if those guys out there who didn't have a choice had a choice? And what if the difference was only $1,000? If you live in Asia and you are restricted to like a 400cc, but let's say tomorrow they're like, you know what? Get whatever bike you want. You're telling me you would rather get the 400 over the 636 for $1,000 more? Look, I get it. A lot of track people are excited about this bike. But let's think about it from an unbiased point of view. The ZX4-R is not some engineering marvel. None of this stuff we're seeing on the ZX4-R is brand new. A slipper clutch, an auto blip, a quick shifter. Shit, it doesn't even have fully adjustable front forks. It's heavy as hell for what it is because of the steel frame. If they used an aluminum frame, I would love that bike because it would be super light and it would make a little bit more sense if you're a track person. And if it is more fun to ride a slow bike fast, why don't you just ride the ZX6-R in like the slowest mode? The argument for this being a track bike, slow bike, fast type of thing, it's almost like an excuse to be like, oh, this is the newest, latest, and greatest, so we gotta give it a lot of respect. But the truth is it's not the latest and greatest. None of what you're seeing on the ZX4-R is groundbreaking or new. In fact, I think I would rather see the ZX25R in the US than this bike, because at least there's a huge gap between the two. In the US, the ZX4-R and the 636, the only significant gap is the auto blip. $1,000 difference is negligible for the amount of power and technology and fully adjustable forks that you'll get in the 636. I can already see it happening. Guys are gonna pick this up, they're gonna want more power, they're gonna spend 636 exhaust money, 636 ECU flashes and dynos, 636 fork cartridge internals, they might even swap over 636 brakes. I can feel this $9,699 bike turning into a $15,000 race bike. It makes absolutely no sense to buy this as a track bike for me. Again, I just think people are talking themselves into like the newest, latest, and greatest gotta have machine. Yeah, this is not it. It's not it. It's a ZX25R that was bumped up to a 400cc for the Asian market, not for the US. I don't think you're gonna sell me on how great of a track bike this is gonna be, because the 636 it's an amazing track machine. It goes back to that whole 1000cc versus 600cc at the track argument. More people are gonna say the 600cc is a better track bike, but I think the trend now is like, let's see how fast we can go with these slow bikes. I don't think there's any reason to stop making 600cc's. I don't know why people stopped riding them supposedly. It's clear that North America still loves 600cc's because Kawasaki's still selling 636s, still making them. Suzuki's still selling them here as well. I think if emissions wasn't an issue in other countries, and if other countries had as free of a choice as they do here, the choice would be extremely clear. The 636 is the better bike, it's the better buy, it's the better value, it's a better track bike, it's the better bike, period. I don't know why you would pick this over the other if you're considering the two. The ZX4-R is a fun little novelty toy, and I think that's all I'm gonna say.